Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is Monday night and it is your Plastic Crack podcast coming to you, season 7, episode 5. My goodness me. You've been listening to this rubbish for far too long. You need to go and do something much more sensible with your Monday nights. That's all I can say. So tonight we've got Super Sub in again. We've got Alex from Storm of Steel has joined us tonight. Martin's not here tonight. He's off gallivanting up in Newcastle or something. So we're quite frankly pleased to get rid of him, aren't we, Steve? And we can bring in someone sensible like Alex. I think that's the way to go. Yeah. So as ever, joined by Steve from On Point HQ down below. And obviously Alex is that way. Hang on. No, that way. I can never remember which way you point. That way. Alex from Storm of Steel. So make sure you're subscribed to his channel. I'm sure everyone is who comes in on here. So thanks, Alex, for joining us tonight again. Much appreciate taking the bat phone call. And I said, can you come on?
No worries. I've been spending all day trying to grow my hair and finding an Iron Maiden t-shirt. So not worked. But,
can you pretend that you like weird shit and that kind of
thing? Yeah. Well, no, I can't go that far.
Yeah, fair dues. Yeah. I think
it's never going to happen.
Martin's changed. Yeah, he has. We brought the much improved Martin on tonight. That's all we're saying. Right, let's have a quick look through who's on here tonight. Hell, there were loads of you on very early again today. I love it. Glinda's here. Good evening, mate. He's working on some simple Blood Bowl rules for my boys to play. Good for that. Good there. David Barker from a wet and windy Gloucestershire, having recovered from food poisoning. Oh, back in the hobby room painting 28mm WSS Danish. Oh my goodness. Well, that'll give you more poisoning, I'm sure. Paul's Paint Shed's here. Richard Howells, John Sowerby, Carl's here. Red Steph, good evening, mate. Stupid Fat Hobbit. I like that. That's good. Fat Hobbit 31. Evening, guys. Doing finishing touches for my Team Yankee British Force tonight. Good for you. Will Stonehouse. Good evening, mate. Camberwell Johnny. Carazette 66. Tactical Exercises with Toys. Good evening, mate. Trevor's in the house. Martin as well. He's painting Romans. Lots and lots of Romans. I might be doing lots and lots of Spartans, but we're not going there. Grana Prego, hello, Anthony. How you doing, mate? Mark's here. Wargamer of Kent. Good evening, mate. Painting a Bren carrier this evening. Yeah, he's saying, assuming Dom hasn't painted hundreds of Spartans this evening. No, not happening. It's not happening. I might paint a few, but geez, no, I don't need Spartans. I was saying to Steve, so anybody hasn't seen it, I did a video over the weekend of my mystery box from Warlords. I took a punt and I picked up one of the Hail Caesar ones, £100, and you generally get a decent amount of plastic for your money. Obviously, you don't know what you're getting, but I thought, if it's a biblical army, that would be useful because I haven't got much of that. If it's something from Romans or something like that, I haven't got much of. Celts are always useful, but a whole load of bloody Spartans arrived. And that's the one thing I really didn't need in my life. There you go. Never mind. Suits me. Daniel's here. He says hello from a rainy Los Angeles. Lionheart's here. Bits is here. Hello, mate. Nick Games. Minus 10 degrees Celsius and painting Napoleonics and 100 Years' War. Eesh, cold. It's a bit warmer here. Chris Strange, but true. Like that name. That's great. Yeah. Evening all. Surely my first word should be Sparta. No. Marvelous. Yeah, the real Steve's here, so we can get started. That's all good. Sam, good evening, mate. Nathan, hello there. Lazy Pirate. Traj, hello, mate. Justin, hello there. Oh God, I've lost it again. They're all dropped to the bottom again. James is here. Hello, Lynn. Hello there. Valley Boys, New Zealand. Who else have we got? Oh, crikey, it's getting lots of repeats here. So anyway, thank you to everybody as ever. Oh, there you go. Walkabout Games. Yay! It's Alex. There you go. Thanks for everyone for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it as always. I think it's a public holiday in America, so if you've had a holiday day today, then I hope you had a good day. Well, I suppose it's halfway through their day. It's not even the evening yet, so probably got something more sensible to do than come on the stream and listen to us lot.
You hope so.
Hobby exploration. So what got you into the hobby? What inspires you to keep going? What sort of things make you pick up new projects? That kind of stuff. We'll just have a little bit of a chinwag around that. But first of all, let's have a look at what everyone's been working on. Alex, you sent me some lovely pictures, but what have you been working on?
It depends what pictures you're going to put up first, I guess. I sent you a few, didn't I?
You did. Do you want to see? Shall I put up your little fellas first?
Yeah, go on. Pick them lads up. This is the last French battalion that I'm going to paint for a while, for quite a while. I just completed 9 of these lads. That's an old one, I think, actually.
Oh, is it?
Is that, wow. Yeah, is that from those pictures that I sent you, or is that? I
think you did, yeah. Unless it's
right.
It must be. You must have sent me an old one.
I must have done. But yeah, since just before Christmas, I've been painting 9 battalions of French.
Right.
And they, I finally finished the last one the other day. There they are. That's all the lads.
That's a lot of Frenchies.
Bloody hell.
Now, the reason I did this is because I was looking at the GDA 200 Days campaign supplement, and in that, it's the amount of figures that I had, which were the box set from Warlord, which I got by 18 months or so ago, which I completed. I just didn't have enough infantry for some of the scenarios. And I thought the French army was actually smaller than the British army in infantry wise. And I thought, well, that's not really how it should be, is it? So I thought, well, I'll buy myself during the Warlord sale. I thought I'll buy myself another 6 battalions. And then we made Dex. He at a games day, he got a brigade box of 3 battalions. And he didn't want them, so he just passed them on to me. So, well, I'll add them in. And it turns out I've now painted a second box set from Warlord without really realising it, because you get 10 battalions in each of the boxes, don't you? So I've actually doubled it up now. I've got, I think I've got 20. Cheers, Rob. I've got 20 battalions of line and light, and then I think 3 of the guard as well. So there's about 20. Is it 23 or 24? And I also did the Swiss battalion in there as well, the red guys at the front. Nice. I just thought, well, this probably goes back to inspiration a bit. It's like I want to play some big Napoleonic games, so you've got to have a lot of Napoleonic figures, haven't you?
Yeah.
Simple as that.
That's the nature of the beast. If you're going to do big battles, you need big numbers of troops. Yeah. Excellent. They look, well, let me put them back up again. They look fantastic. Really good.
Thank you very much.
I your tenacity to work through that amount.
I know. I was going to say, well, Alex, could you paint them like blindfold now?
Pretty much at this point, to be honest. I was dreaming about it the other day. Honestly, I mean, you do speed up as you do more and more of them. I mean, that's just the way it is. Like, it's muscle memory, isn't it, to that point? And it's pretty much all I've done for the last few months, apart from bits and pieces here and there. I'm having a little break now. And then I thought I've painted too much blue for now, but I'm going to be going back to the Prussians, so I'll be painting just a darker blue instead.
Just a darker version of blue, yeah. Do you do like I found with the I've been doing all those 10 mil little 100 Years War figures, and I found that just interspersing as they're doing a sprue, which is quite a lot of troops, and then moving on to some 28 mils or something else, and then going back to them again? Or do you find just cracking on through, just keeping going with the epics?
A bit and a bit. And it depends. Sometimes, so what I've done is I've painted some of the battalions just in their grey coats, and then some of them in tunics. So then what you've done is I've taken 2 sprues and kind of split them between, the figures. I've taken the figures off one and yada yadas. So that means I've got another sprue ready to go, kind of thing, because I've kind of prepped them both at the same time, for undercoating and things. So generally I'll do 2 of those battalions. It was taking me about a week to do a battalion on average, because I just do 1 block of colours one night, another block of colours another night, and just do it that way. So it's kind of a bit of a production line really. But then every so often, maybe every 2 or 3 battalions, I'd probably just take a break and dig out some German armour or something and paint that instead, just to, like I say, literally to break it up really, and just to make it just that slightly, just keep my interest in it as much as anything else really.
I think you risk getting burnt out otherwise, don't you?
You can do quite easily.
Yeah. And also you've been doing some of your jolly old buildings as well with the gardens. I do love how you do all the little picket fences and the gardens around all your buildings.
Yeah, this is another little Dutch house for Arnhem. It's one of the ones from Sabotaged. It's the ones that he designed specifically for Nick and Richard, 2 Fat Lardies.
For that game they did in
for their games, and for the Arnhem supplement whenever that rears its head. So I talked to Paul, and he sent me a load of the printed things, and that's what they are. And Paul at Sabotage, that is, and he did a load of fences for me as well and stuff. And buildings have to have curtilage. They always have things around them. Buildings don't exist on their own. No, and it drives me up the wall to see them on wargaming tables where they've just been plonked down and there's nothing around them. So I always put gardens in these days. I didn't used to, but nowadays I do. It's like it's got to have a garden. And I thought, I'll put some little orange flowers in there as well for the Dutch resistance.
Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah, of course, you've got to have them. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Get some Germans coming and kicking them up and pulling them out and stuff.
Oh, they're great.
But yeah, Paul also does the little scatter things as well, all the groceries and stuff as well, and the bins and things like that as well. That's on the front of them. So just to make them look lived in, really. Houses should look lived in.
Definitely. Yeah, they're nice. They're really good, really nice. And as you say, I think I'm probably guilty of it, like many people, just plonking a building down. But more and more, I think it must be the Martin effect, because he always goes on about everything's got to look like it really is there, and like it would have really done, like roads that go nowhere. You can't have that and all that sort of thing. So I start to think about the villages and the buildings and whatnot, and building them into a bit more of a complex and make it.
I mean, it's difficult because obviously a lot of it is storage.
Yeah,
But there's a way of doing it is you can just make the gardens separate and then put the house in the garden and have the house and the garden separate. The garden is then a much small, just a base with a fence around it or something, or just with grass on or something.
And I guess if you did it that way, you could have different bases for different sort of times of the year even, or different periods.
The house stays the same, but everything else around it changes. And it makes them a bit more modular and a bit more useful for other periods and what have you. I mean, because I stick within 3 periods pretty much. I mean, my stuff kind of sits within those brackets anyway. But if you're doing, like you say, you could quite easily that garden could span, a couple of 100 years really, with the right building in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it'd be really useful when you get onto Space Weirdos and you start doing that, I'm sure. Talking about Space Weirdos, Steve, what have you been up to, buddy?
Nothing overly weird. Again, didn't get much done last week, but
we'll be the judge of that, won't we, Alex?
I did have a busy weekend. I had quite
judged already,
but nothing totally finished. I did work on this though, so. As people know, I've been. I want to start the new Japanese starter box from Warlord for bolt action, but I want to finish my US Marines first. So I'm redoing this. I painted these back in 2018. It was like one of my first finished armies, and I painted about 1,500 points in 3 weeks, and it showed because they were crap. Looking back, I was like, I wasn't happy with it all. So I've been rebasing them, and I've just been doing better highlights, just tidying them up. So I did 9 over the weekend. Where are we? So that's the 9
Oh,
I've been
lovely.
working on this weekend.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you. Basing, yeah, I've got rid of the mixed herbs that I used to use for my jungle basing.
Oh, that's kind of disappointing, Steve. That's sort of.
I know. So
I remember
I'll just
so
use
many
my.
hours talking about mixed herbs and things. I think that's brilliant.
No, it had to. I don't know. There's just something about it. I mean, I used to love the way they looked, but no, there was just something about it. So they've just had new bases with Vallejo mud, some clump foliage, some war painted tufts, and again, thank you. Not massive amounts done, so it's not a complete repaint. It's just more of a tidy up. So I've got 13 to go. So I'm gonna be batch painting or batch improving those. But that's the lot so far.
Lovely.
So essentially, it's going to be 2 regular rifle squads, 2 engineer squads, 2 platoon HQ, 1 platoon HQ, 2 platoon HQs, the way it's done now, and some tanks and some half tracks. But yeah, I want these out of the way because I've never painted a Japanese army before. I've never painted a single World War II Japanese soldier ever.
Wow.
Mainly because my mate's got about. I can imagine you've painted quite a few, Alex. But my mate's been painting his Balzac in Japanese a good 7 years now, and he's got about a billion points in Japanese. He's just got hundreds of them. But I never had cause to buy any. But that new box set has really piqued my interest, and I really want to have a go.
It's an interesting army, the Japanese. I mean, I play with them in Chain of Command, of course. It takes a little while to get used to them because they're quite big, the platoons, and there's quite a lot of different moving parts in there. But they can be pretty effective when if you're very aggressive.
Yes,
I don't know if it's the same in bolt action. I'm sure it's probably about the same, but
it is. They've got
Japanese.
Yeah, they've got national characteristics that make them a bit awful. But yeah, I've never painted a single Japanese soldier. So I Sonic Sledgehammer. So Troy did a really good video a couple of weeks back on painting 28mm Japanese. So yeah, gonna be borrowing heavily from him like I normally do. But I've decided I'm not gonna.
We've got to recognise John's effort here with the joke. Mixed herb basing doesn't last the ravages of time.
Yeah, cool. I think that's a banning offence, isn't it?
Do you think it's a yellow card or is it a super
green card?
A green card.
He's here all night, folks. He's here all night.
It's followed up by Carl, who says yes, it's much better in mint condition. There you go. Oh my goodness, you lot. Cool. Sorry. Carry on, Steve.
So if this isn't a painting thing, but more something I mentioned that I'd bought off eBay. So 2 weeks ago, I had a hankering to play Space Crusade again.
Oh yeah.
And so I went into eBay and I got a copy. Bit of faff with Royal Mail trying to deliver it, not succeeding. But last Tuesday, got home from the office and it was waiting for me. And this is what it was. Bearing in mind, this is 36 years old.
Amazing. That's nostalgia right there. You were talking about nostalgia the other week, weren't you? That is nostalgia. So
I originally got Space Crusade for Christmas in 1990 and didn't really look after it. I mean, we played it a lot, but I was a bit, as a 12-year-old, you don't really look after your stuff. But yeah, so I found that on eBay and I couldn't believe the condition it was in. So got it home. When it arrived, it's 100% complete. Not a single missing weapon, token, dice. The price, I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for because it would be a how much moment. It was, for me, you can't put a price on nostalgia and childhood memories. So that's why I bought it. It was in 3 people's baskets when I went onto eBay. I was like, yeah, you're not having that. That's mine. So I bought it straight away. But I'm so made up. One thing that was quite disturbing that I forgot all about is in the box. When these days when you remove things from sprues, You have nice sprue clippers. And you know, the instructions on the box were twist them from the sprue.
Oh, ouch.
I was going to say, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, God.
That probably contributed to why they were a little bit battered in your 12-year-old hands, I should imagine.
I know, but yeah. I'd get you banned from some Facebook groups twisting things off sprues. But yeah, so that's what I went up to. I've got loads of things. I've got more Marines to do. I've got some modern special forces. I've rebased all of my stuff for Rogue Warriors, and I've been working. Have you ever had sort of either a project or a unit or something where everything you do, everything goes wrong, literally from start to finish?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm currently painting 2 figures from the War Games Atlantic Agents box, and from start to finish, because they're almost done, everything has gone wrong with them. Everything, just completely. I thought I'd finish them on Saturday, and I dropped them in the basing mud, and they're wearing suits.
Maybe it's a sign, Steve. Maybe it's just give it up.
Just give it. Well, I was like, what else can go wrong here? And there was mud everywhere. And when I was painting them, because they're essentially black and white. They got black shirts, black suits and white shirts. And I don't like painting white at the best of times, but painting white cuffs. I don't know how many times I tidied those up. It was ridiculous. But yeah, dropping them both in the basing material on Saturday was just.
That was the final straw, was it?
It was. So I think they're done now. I did the last of the repairs on them yesterday. But
goodness,
I'm gonna I'm doing it. To be fair, it's a lovely box. That Agents box by War Games Atlantic's brilliant. So many cool bits and pieces, and I've got quite a few plans for it. But yeah, that's me. But I had a productive weekend. Still playing Red Dead Redemption 2. But apart from that, yeah, all good.
Awesome. Yeah, for me, well, a bit like you, Steve. I've been up to my eyeballs. It feels like every time I go on a work call or something, I look down at my hands and they're just covered in Vallejo mud and super glue, because I've been knee deep in recycling and updating a whole load of my 28mm ancient figures, inspired by the game Paul and I had down the club the other night, having a go with the new Pyrrhic Wars Hail Caesar supplement. We sort of had a quick sort of rehash on playing Hail Caesar and played a biggish battle of pikes against Pelham, which was great fun and really good indeed. So I thought I really need to dive into my old collection, and they've all been sitting at the bottom of the shelves down there for quite some time, waiting for some attention. And I know you all take the piss out of me how many figures I've got, but I was even shocked how many figures I had in there. I thought, bloody hell. I mean, I think because I started off, I'm sure we all do the same, right? So I started off with just doing some sort of Hellenistic army. I can't even remember what it was now, probably Alexandrian or something like that. This was using for Warhammer Ancient Battles. And then once you've got the core of a Hellenistic army, you can add,
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And then you can go, okay, I've got the pikemen. I can add, if I add in a few mercenaries and what have you, I can then make it a Seleucid army, and then I can do this, and then I can do this, and before you know it, you've got about 12 different armies based off the same core. So to the point where I actually couldn't find the Numidians. I knew I had them there somewhere, but I'd gone through so many boxes and then found them all. So anyway, long story short, I've spent an awful lot of time rebasing and pulling figures off and touching them up. That's the wrong way. But working on them to improve them, because some of them are like yours, Steve. Absolutely, mine were nowhere near as good as yours. They were completely shocking, some of them, and some of them just battered and bruised because they've been played with for 20 years or so, and most of them are 20 to 30 years old figures. So they've been lugged around all over the country at various events and what have you, and have not survived in some cases. So it's been actually great fun. Some of them are fantastic. Some of them I look at, no, blimey, they're really not bad. I did a good job with those 25 years ago. And then others I go, oh my God, hang your head in shame. But anyway, so I'm working my way through those, which has been great fun. That's what I'm doing tonight. It's just working through There's more cavalry to be done.
Sometimes
So
it's just,
yeah,
it's just like a few touch-ups, isn't it, that you need, like a little few highlights here and there, just to kind of make it pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
'cause your
The
painting
other thing I
technique
think,
probably completely different were 25 years ago, and
that's it. And I think also
things just weren't available.
when I started the armies, I think I was really heavily into army painter dip. And so everything was dipped within an inch of its life. Which actually is surprisingly good for then just going back in and putting some extra highlights on top. It puts some nice shadows and shades in it. So it's actually been quite fulfilling to work it through. The worst thing is getting them off the old bases. That's the worst thing. But, yeah. So I've got a production line, a little plastic tray like this, which is full of water that I leave them in overnight up to their bases, and then generally they pull off, and I can work my way through them. So anyway, that's what I've been doing largely, which meant.
So you've basically been touching them up and pulling off, is that what you say?
You can say that, Alex.
Your words, Dom, not mine. Everybody else heard it.
Yeah, I think the word you're looking for is demonetization.
Sorry, we're over 15 minutes into the video.
All right, okay.
That's fine. We're safe now. Yeah, you're probably right, Carl. When you think 20 to 30 years, it's probably 30 to 40. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, shockingly, that's true.
So I have done some figures, but not much. So
no Spartans.
Not thousands of Spartans. No. These are some Balearic slingers that the Victrix plastics that I picked up in the Black Friday sales, I think. So I thought I needed some slingers. Then I found the box with the slingers in it and realized I didn't need any more slingers. But I painted them anyway. So these all join the myriads of Allied forces that I've got for the different armies. So they're kind of fun. I'm not going to go about Victrix. I like Victrix, but sometimes they're a bit of a ball ache to put together, and they certainly were.
Are they plastic?
Yeah, they're plastic. Yeah, nice. Then some more 10 mils. So these muddy fellas are a whole load of peasants. These are Pendragon 10 mils that are going to join the probably join the French side, I should imagine, in the 100 Years' War figures. So just, again, as I said last time, it's just having a bit of variety. The War Games Atlantic figures are so good, but they're fairly limited in what you get. So trying to add in a few different things from Pendragon and Lancashire Games and various other places, just to give a bit more options. So there's a whole load of muddy peasants. Although, I was going to ask that,
Dom, are those? Is that how the plastic ones come from War Games Atlantic, or you've mixed some in there with Pendragon?
No, these are all metals. These are all metals from Pendragon. Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that.
No, it's fine. The War Games Atlantic ones are a mixture. They're mostly in strips, like an epic kind of thing. But then there are quite a few individuals as well, so you can sort of break them up into different formations. Now, the one thing I can't unsee anymore is you see the middle element there, and there's three guys with mat hooks on their backs, all in a line. What the bloody hell did I do putting three in a row? I mean, you know how it is when you're trying to do something, irregularly putting things on a base, and then you look at them and you've done something like that. But they were super, so that was that really.
Didn't notice until you said it, so.
But now you won't be able to unsee it. I know. I can't stop myself from seeing it. It's driving me insane. Anyway, there you go. So that's all I've done. That's all I painted. It's just mud a go really around here. As you say, it's oh my goodness! Look who's walked in. Martin, go back to drinking.
What are you doing?
Yeah, go back to having a drink, mate. So yeah, it's been a funny old couple of weeks. So there you go. That's what we've been up to. All been busy. All been good. All good stuff. How many times did I mistake my tea dip for tea? I don't think I ever did it, because if you ever had that army painter dip stuff, it stinks. If you try to pick it up and drink it, you'd have to have some serious I don't know, inability to smell anything to even get it close to your mouth, let alone to drink the stuff.
You'd know pretty quick, wouldn't you? I used to use wood varnish. It's basically the same stuff, but half the price.
Yeah.
But that stunk as well.
It was effective stuff, but I have still got some, but it's just stink. It just But I certainly I used to literally with a pair of pliers stop them in the thing, but so many times I let go of them by accident, and then you have to go fishing around for them, and then of course they're absolutely coated in it, and no matter how much you shake the tin, all the thicker stuff is at the bottom, so then they look like Steve's men in suits in the mud when you bring them out, so you have to then brush it all off. So then I thought, someone said, well, why don't you just brush it on? I thought, yeah, why don't I just brush it on?
Like a light bulb moment.
Yeah, it's like, oh, don't be stupid. So I used to brush it on, but now it just consigned to the past. So I've discovered, non-oil and various other things that don't stink. Anyway, there you go. That's what we've all been up to. That's an interesting way to spend half an hour talking about my inability to dip properly and pull things off and touch them up. Right, let's get on to some inspiration, shall we then? So I'd love to know, everyone in the comments as well, what your inspiration was. And inspiration of what got you going in the hobby itself to start with. Was there any light bulb moment or anything that just sort of made you go, I just want to play with toy soldiers all my life? Alex, can you remember that far back, mate? Can you remember that moment? Was there a moment when you thought, wargaming, that's for me?
It was during the height of the Napoleonic Wars, and I used to read the newspaper articles, about the various battles.
Listen, I get so much grief here for being the old one. I'm going to have at least I'm going to have an ally now.
I'll give you a bit of respite for the evening. I probably said this before, and I might have said this before on this stream when I first came on way back when. And my entry into the hobby was basically through military modelling. So it was like through making the Tamiya kits and stuff. But then I got into painting the 1/72 scale SE stuff. I never knew if it was SE or Esky, how you pronounce it. I know it's Italian company, and and it is an acronym, but I can't remember what it stands for. But it's an acronym, so I don't know if it's SE or Esky. Depends how you. I guess. And I used to paint those, and I never really. I used to set up battle scenes and stuff, and it was always Napoleonics. So I was and French Napoleonics, and I never really used to do that, throwing marbles at them and stuff. I just used to set them up on the little battle scenes that you could get from the big box sets that you got from Esky. And then I took them to school one time as like a show and tell thing. I think it was in English or something. And a guy in the class, this would have been like in my first year of comprehensive, first or second year. So I've been 11 or 12. I can't remember exactly. And he said, have you ever played war games with them? And it kind of really went from then. And he was like, no, I'd never even heard of it. And he used to play micro tank stuff, Second World War things.
Oh yeah.
So, my introduction to wargaming has always been from a historical point of view. It's always, it's either been the Napoleonics or it has been the Second World War, right from the get go, and it's never really changed. If I'm honest, they've always been my two go to. So it was kind of like, my inspiration came from doing the military modeling and painting the figures. And then, and as a kid, that would have been like the 80s, and they used to show stuff like Waterloo every Sunday afternoon and A Bridge Too Far and things, all the old classic war film.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was coming up with the idea for this.
They obviously they had an inspiration for me.
Well, I think you froze a minute there, Alex. I think that I was still thinking about this a while back. It was I think we just used to have so many good films like this, on a Sunday, particularly I always used to love it if it was a wet day, because there was no sport on, and they would put some in the middle of the afternoon. They would put some sort of old classic film on the telly, so you'd get Zulu or I don't know, some kind of Western or something like that would come on, and it was just always brilliant. And it just, as a young lad, it just inspired you to get out and play toy soldiers with them. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and when I was a kid, I was a lot more. My eye was taken a lot more than it is these days by something interesting. So if I watch Zulu, it's like, right, I'll go and get a load of SE Zulus and British Redcoats and have a game with them. It's probably not something I do these days, but it's certainly it had me doing lots of bits and pieces at the time as a kid. So yeah, that's where some of my initial inspiration for the hobby and for getting into it, I think, came from, for sure.
Yeah. I think probably a lot of people similar. What about you, Steve? What was, I think we probably talked about this in the past, but kind of what was your inspiration to get going?
Well, it's probably like I said, I got Space Crusade for Christmas in 1990. Me and my brother already had Hero Quest, and so we just played those. Prior to that, when my dad was in the army, he made models all the time, military kits, all different scales. I got my first dinky toy when I was 2 days old. It was a chieftain tank on a tank carrier. I was 2 days old, and my dad got that for me. Model soldier. So I used to work on sort of 1/72nd scale military vehicles. That would have been the late 80s. So yes, played Hero Quest and Space Crusade. And then one day, this would have been 1991, my mate told me about Rogue Trader 40k. And we played our first games. And I think I mentioned this in the 40k video I did on my channel. Everything changed because it was so different. It was so different to anything I'd ever played before, I'd ever seen. The lore was completely and utterly bonkers. It was so different. And so we started playing Rogue Trader, mainly we started playing it initially on just on the floor. And we didn't have very many figures, but we had the rule book and had a really good time. And then we found out about a club every Tuesday in the town where I grew up, 7 till 10 every Tuesday. So we started playing Rogue Trader there virtually week in, week out. And then from there, sort of some of the older gamers introduced us to other games, historical. Like I said, the very first historical game I ever played was Body Count, the Vietnam rule set, which, looking back, it probably wasn't the greatest introduction.
I know you said you went back to it recently. You just see, I found a PDF online as well. I looked at it again, and I just thought, my God, how did I play this?
when we had our first games, so a guy GM'd for us and demonstrated, and back then it seemed brilliant. We played it with Airfix figures, and I loved it. But yeah, someone gave me it was a printout. Look, I got an old dot matrix printer, and I found it again a couple of years back. And I was going through it, I was like, what is this? How did we play this? It's like you need the Rosetta Stone to translate half of this stuff.
I know we spoke about this a bit last week, but we put up with a lot of shitty rules, didn't we, back in the day? It was extraordinary what we put up with.
And so that was my introduction. And then from there, I think I can say it was mainly that's the dinky thing. So yeah, a lot of the older gamers who were more into, I think they took pity on us seeing us playing 40k, and they were like, "Oh no, let's introduce them to something a bit different."
You need to grow up here, young man. Come over here.
You can stand
12 there. Now.
Yeah, you can stand there. But yeah, they introduced us. So there was Body Count. We played an AWI game. Oh God, they were introduced to loads, and it was like that was my first sort of exposure into historical gaming. And from then, I sort of dabbled between the two. I mean, it was a lot more of Games Workshop sort of fantasy stuff like Necromunda and 40k, but we still played the historical stuff. Yeah, so that was my introduction. Like I said, if I hadn't gone to that club, or if the club hadn't existed, I think it would have just been Games Workshop stuff for the foreseeable. Because there was nobody really in our gaming circle that did any form of historical gaming at all. It was all weird 40k stuff. But yeah, so the club really opened my eyes to so many different games and rule systems, and yeah, Body Count.
Yeah, see, I'm a bit of a weirdo like that, because I went from historical to Warhammer. because all my mates were playing Warhammer. So it's like, they refused to play another game at another Battle of Waterloo.
Yeah.
So I had to play Warhammer with them. But
it's interesting. I mean, clubs are an interesting place for inspiration.
Are we having a bit of trouble with the internet tonight?
I think yours is wobbling, Alex. You're definitely coming in and out again.
Is it me, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe it's my wife's watching blogs or something.
I was going to say about clubs. So I always worry or wonder how much they inspire young people. There's a couple of young kids that come down, mainly they dragged along by their dads down to our club from time to time, and they wander around the tables looking at things. And I wonder and I'm trying to remember back dim distant when I was a young lad going to a club, how much it inspired me and how much it intimidated me, kind of. I don't know whether it sort of, because when you're a youngster and you just want to play with toy soldiers, the thought of then seeing armies of troops, especially big battle going on, and there's loads of them, you think, I'm never going to be able to do that, am I? Do you not find that tricky, or was it just that was just never a thing?
I never really thought about it, I don't think. I mean, I didn't go to that many clubs when I was a kid anyway. I went a couple of times to the local one, to the Rotherham one, but in general, I mean, we just used to play at each other's houses, me and my mates anyway.
Yeah,
we'd go to like triples every year in Sheffield and go both days and play loads of games throughout the 2 days that it was on. But and I just enjoyed the spectacle of it rather than it being overwhelming. Do you know what I mean? It was just it was like, this is something I can aspire to. I never got to it. You know what I mean, as a kid. But it felt as though I could at least do it at some point. So I didn't really have that club experience as a kid. Like I said, I just went a couple of times to the local one, but not that often. But we just used to play our own games, so it was you kind of feel as though you're in a bit of a bubble anyway. Then you're not seeing somebody else putting tons of stuff on, because we all had the same small amounts of things.
I think our club, we were surprised that when we first went, just how many people were playing Games Workshop games. So especially the old Rogue Trader 40k. There was some other sort of, I think people were playing like really early edition Blood Bowl as well. But it was, again, it opened my eyes, because it was so new seeing, big historical games being played. I remember someone, again, mentioned the AWI, someone putting on a massive, great big game, because we had a big table you had to reserve. There was the big 12 by 4 table, the far end of the room. So you had to reserve that if you wanted a big game the following week. And it was about 12 people all playing this AWI game. Again, I think it was 170, would have been 172nd on the 20 mil. And it was so impressive. And I was like, I really, really want to play something like that. It was so big, and there was just masses and masses and masses of troops. But then, we'd get invited to participate. You can play that squad, or you can play that unit, and it just went from there. And it was a really cool club. It was really nice. Again, it was just the sheer diversity of games that were being played. I know I mentioned it again last week, the micro armor games with the beard stroking. But again, even that was so different. Even that was so different that our games were kind of a bit raucous, laughing and joking. And there was these serious guys with charts stood at the other end of the room, looking like they were partaking in an actual war. So it was good seeing that side of things, that it was so different to what we were doing. But again, I think for me it was the exposure. It was exposure to so many different rule sets and different games and different miniatures as well. I think, thinking back, if I hadn't gone to the club, I think my entry into the hobby would have been stunted to a great degree. That I was given that again exposure to so many different games and rule sets, and it was nice. It was, and I think that definitely set me on the sort of if there's any indecision that it was going to be my main hobby for the next 35 plus years. It was the club. It really did inspire. And I used to look forward to it. And we used to play, on a Tuesday, or like Alex just said, around your mates at the weekend or during the a weekday. I think between 91 and sort of 95, 96, we played so many war games. It was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. I remember one time we had, I may have told us before, we had a massive big setup of it was 40k second edition in my parents' house, and we had like a sort of a stone patio. There was like 6 or 7 of us, and after we were there all day, literally 10 till about 5.
Yeah. And
after we finished, my mum got in and she said, "What have you been doing today?" And I was like, "I've been playing war games." She was like, every time I looked out, everyone was just standing round and pointing. I was like, that's
exactly right.
That's what we do. We stand around and we point. But again, we were so desperate for a game that we had to use our patio. I mean, luckily it was school holidays. It wasn't the middle of November or something. That would have been ridiculous. But yeah, again, just early memories like that. I think they just set you on the road. You think this is a fantastic hobby, and I really want to be part of it.
I once played a Napoleonic game in our garden, in our back garden, when I was a nipper against somebody, and one of the things I used to do was get the books from the library, so the old Donna Featherstone and Charles Grant and the classic ones. And I remember reading, it was just a sentence in one of them. I can't remember which one it was, but it said, "All moves are taken simultaneously, or are meant to be simultaneous." What he meant was, it was like, you basically do a move, but you're both doing something at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, that was the thinking, but I misunderstood it, and what I thought it meant was that both players would just move as much as they wanted at the same time. And it wasn't as though it was like a move that was broken into actual parts. You just basically moved 6 inches and then keep moving 6 inches while he was moving 6 inches and kept moving 6 inches. And then as soon as you got within firing range, you start rolling dice at each other as quick as you could, because it was all simultaneous.
I love that. That's brilliant.
I bet that was carnage.
Absolutely. But those books were, you just reminded me because of playing in the back garden. But those books, again, they were inspirational. Again, in the library, somebody in the library must have been a wargamer, because there was a shelf full of them, and it was all the old Don Featherstone stuff, and we had them pretty much on permanent loan, me and my mates. I know you guys have talked about this before, and seeing the pictures in those books, and just reading those ideas and things, and how they did stuff, and how they went around their wargaming. That was massively inspirational, really.
Yeah, I used to love all those books. I'm the same. I think any library in the area where there were lots of wargamers probably never ever got their wargaming books back, because I was exactly the same. I'd be constantly renewing them. However long you had them, you renewed them again next time.
Oh god, I can even remember. I think there was 2 or 3 shelves in the history section. But in the town I grew up in, I don't think there was many historical war gamers there, because they were always there, always. So it wasn't a massive collection. I think I over the course of 2 or 3 years, I checked most of them out. But yeah, it was Bruce Quarry books and Donald Featherstone.
That's right. Yeah.
There was loads and loads of them there. And again, that was from being from the club and thinking, I really want to explore this, and going to the library and I'm like, oh my god, there's like a holy grail library here.
There's a book on something I play toy soldiers.
I know, and it was brilliant. And yeah, I mentioned that book, the Bruce Quarry one, that I booked out for the maximum you could have it out for was for 3 weeks. So I had it out for it was 3 times you could book it out for. I had it out for 9 weeks. I kept going back and renewing it, and I must have read that book. I don't know how many times I read, just over and over and over.
Was it Quarry's Napoleon's Campaigns in Miniature?
No, it was the Armored Wargaming one.
Yes, yeah. I'd had that one out as well. I remember speaking of inspirational, the Quarry's Napoleon's Battles in Miniature. On the front cover of that, I think the old guard, and they were all based on. It looked like MDF bases. So I basically went home and I got my dad to cut me a load of MDF bases or plywood bases, and I mounted all my figures on those, but I put them on with blue tack. rather than actual sticking them down, so we could take individual casualties on.
Yeah, I remember the same thing. Because you're right, all those magazines, all those books, and actually miniature wargaming or whatever, mini modelling, wasn't it? Miniature modelling was the only thing in the early days. It had lots of pictures of games and what have you. Used to have one battle report, I seem to remember, in each one, and that was a huge inspiration for me. But yeah, I remember seeing all those MDF bases and thinking, as a kid, pestering my dad to take me to the hardware store to buy them, and then I didn't have any money or anything like that, so I couldn't afford to buy anything. So then you start cutting up bits of the the cereal packets and
exactly the same.
Oh god, yes.
the special ones were like for the Imperial Guard, and they were the MDF ones.
Exactly.
Everybody else was
the rest was on any old crap you could find, or when my dad came home with some new shirts or something for work, and they always had a piece of card that was at the back of them, and I can have the card, Dad, because that was a whole load of bases. Terrible thing. I mean, frankly, I've been finding some of the figures in my ancient collection that aren't better based than that even now. But there you go. Cardboard is a very bad thing to base your figures on. I'm just going to say that right now. But I remember the same sort of thing. Because I think I've talked about this before, so I won't go on about it too much. But I was into. I don't know why I was into military stuff and battles, and it was probably. I don't know. Always was. From as long as I can remember, I was fascinated by the military and fascinated by battles and wars and films and stuff that came on. I had to watch and any kind of books about campaigns and history I'd read avidly. But the first sort of exposure to wargaming, I guess, I had was at school because I used to war game with a friend of mine, and we, it's the old Airfix, Napoleonics, the plastics, and we used to do massive battles across with our own sort of. I don't even know what kind of rules they were. We started off just by throwing things at things, and I think we matured a bit to having some kind of dice rolling at various stages. But it was basically Lord Melchett with his dustpan, sweeping away huge numbers of figures was basically how we played it. And then I went to the next school, and there was a chap there whose dad was a war gamer, and we used to play D&D together, and he took me. I went around to his house one day and to play D&D, I think, and his dad had all his 15mm. Napoleonics out on the dining room table, and he basically had reproduced the entire Confederacy of the Rhine army out down to, it must have been grand battle rules or something like that, but literally every battalion, every squadron, every gun he had for, I can't even remember which campaign it was particularly, and I just jaw just dropped to see all these beautiful figures, and of course they were probably old minifigs. They all had exactly the same positions.
Yeah.
But it was just like, oh my goodness! And they went to Wargaming Club. Oh God, where was it? Over by the airport somewhere, over by Heathrow Airport. And so I used to go there. I used to again badger my dad to drop me up there on a Friday night to go down. A bit like you guys. They were amazingly welcoming, and we'd go in and play all sorts of stuff. And of course, I didn't have any figures, but so it was so inspiring to see all these games of all different sizes and complexities and periods and everything else. And just, it was just like a kid with a candy. It was just brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. So, and I still feel the same today. I mean, even at our club now at Farnborough, we always make sure we have a break in the middle of the game and have a wander around and look at what everyone else is playing and what they're doing and what have you. And it's just so nice just to see everyone playing different sorts of games and different scales and different periods. And there's a few weirdos there as well doing weird shit Steve would love. Even Blood Bowl started being played. Good grief. Yes.
You're not tempted?
I love American football, mate, and I'm tempted. I am tempted, but
that's again, that's a game as far as sort of inspiration goes. school holidays, 1994, we played like a 6-week Blood Bowl league. And it was just, we had 4 pitches set up in my mate's back garden. Oh, it was just, what a time to be alive. It was just brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. Draken said, a mixture of Airfix, Toy Soldiers, the film Waterloo, and history at school. And lucky enough to go to school in the 70s when they actually taught history. That's true. Yeah, that's true. And it was all that sort of stuff definitely inspires you, I think, through the whole thing. Mobile and Hostel says, inspiration, everything and anything made by Airfix. Yes, fair. They just, I think, well, we've talked about this many times, so I won't go on about it, but it does seem like there was 2 entries into wargaming primarily, is those who went in via the Airfix route and those who went in by the Games Workshop route. And there's another group like yourself, Alex, who went in through the modelling bit. But it definitely seemed to be in Airfix.
I think I fell between the 2 stools. I mean, a little bit too young to be the Airfix generation, a bit too old to be the Games Workshop generation. There was about a 5 or 6 year gap in between the 2 where I fall into. But I suppose, the Eshy stuff, it's pretty much Airfix. I was more interested in the Eshy stuff rather than the Airfix stuff. It's not as though I didn't have any Airfix figures,
I think everybody
owned some Airfix at one time. Again, when we started the historical game with the older games at the club, I went out and bought some British paratroopers from World War II. And I love working on those because I used tea as a basing material. And I thought it was I was like, everyone's going to be really jealous of my tip-top, realistic-looking basing here. And I don't know.
Tea, herbs, couscous.
I know.
There's a theme here, isn't there?
There's definitely a theme. My parents say, "Why are you cutting up our tea bags? You don't want to know."
Oh dear, love it. John Salvi said the World at War TV series was a huge inspiration for him. Those sort of documentaries, really good. But was anything like that, Alex, that got you? Because you're a massive World War I fan. So kind of what got you hooked and inspired about that as a particular period of interest? Because it's not one of the big ones, really, is it? So interesting to know how you got that way.
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I was at school when Blackadder Goes Forth was on. So we were being taught First World War at the same time as that. So we were kind of watching that on a Thursday night and getting taught the First World War. But it was a 1980s version of the First World War, which has been completely debunked and pushed to one side these days in the modern scholarship. But I actually had a trench set up and everything. And a few minifigs, First World War figures back then. But I sold them many years later and got rid of the trench set and stuff. My dad had made it for me. So I kind of forgot about it for a while. But I was always interested in First World War aircraft. And I still am. I love biplanes. And so I used to play Paragon's Air War stuff. As well with sticks, and you move the planes up and down the sticks.
Oh yeah, we used to do that. That was great fun.
And I just used to like those because of I was interested in history, and it was just something that I was really interested in from that point of view. But I didn't play the ground war stuff. But then in about 2002, 2003, I got involved in battlefield archaeology in France and in Belgium.
Right.
And had done that ever since. And now that came off the back of going to a battlefield archaeology conference, and some guys were doing a volunteer excavation at a place called Ocean Villas on Chanvier on the Somme. And I just said, look, I'm an archaeologist. I was new in my career at that time. And I said, can I come along and do some work with you? And they invited me along, and then unfortunately I stuck around for the next 20 years or so. That led on to me reading a lot more about the war in a modern sense and looking into the actual war from a historical point of view, and because it was something that I'd done at school. I'd read a few books here and there. It wasn't much, my major interest in the Second War. But then I also went on and studied First World War studies as well, but that kind of also pushed me as well. And I thought, actually, this is actually an interesting period to wargame, because it is a period that is relatively untouched, but there's so much in it that is not really understood by wargamers. And we talked about Don Featherstone. I bought one of his books relatively recently, and it's like Wargaming Through the Ages or something. And each major period has a chapter on it, and all of them are like 20, 25 pages. Gets to the First World War, it's like 4 pages. You can do air war, you can do some a bit of tank versus tank, and that's it. Next kind of thing.
The rest of it's just mud and boring. And
that is that is the attitude of a lot of wargamers to the First World War. But once I started understanding the actual history of it, and understanding the development of the armies through the war, and the development of weapons and tactics and everything really from ground up, it struck me that this is actually something that's interesting I could look at from a wargaming point of view. And that was probably the most recent major inspiration that I've had in wargaming, because as I said before, I stick to a handful of periods, and it kind of came through that, and it would have been 2014, I think, and I already had Square Bashing. I picked a pig. I played that a lot, still do, and I think it's a great game. And then I got Through the Mud and the Blood by Two Fat Lardies. And TFL games are games that, especially the older ones, they need someone to handhold you through them a bit. And we tried to play it, and we just could not understand any of the concepts in it or anything. So it kind of, sat collecting dust on the shelf until I got into Chain of Command, and then I went back to it and realized that it's actually a fantastic game in there. It's just we didn't know how to play it, and so that's that was my First World War journey, I suppose, really. And like I said, the inspiration came solidly from the history of the First World War, and being involved in it from an archaeological point of view. And just visiting the sites and looking at the battlefields and looking at the background to it, and realizing there was a lot more to it than I had previously understood as a conflict in and of itself. And that, to be fair, that's the same with both the Napoleonic Wars and the Second World War. Is I am very much driven by the historical side of things, rather than like watching Sharp's rifles or whatever on the telly. I'd much rather sit and read the Waterloo Companion than watch Sharp. You know what I mean? I'm more into the history side of things, which makes me sound like a knob, but here we are.
I won't say anything. I read a fair few history books as well, but I still like Sharp.
That's fair enough. There's space for all of us idiots.
Yeah, exactly. That's the beauty of the hobby, isn't it? It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, these guys take the piss out of me again. That I'm inspired. Basically, get hooked up on all sorts of things. So I was. A few years ago, I was in somewhere in Greece and was up at top of a mountain looking at a Minoan fortress and thinking. So lo and behold, before I'd even come back, I think I'd ordered some figures ready to do a Minoan army, and then I was watching a film on Netflix about the Latvian army in the Second World War, and lo and behold, I've got a Latvian Second World War army in my collection, and I'm a sucker for anything like that. But history it definitely is one. Kind of just gets me. The one I still haven't done, and I've talked about this before, one of the very first books I read, shows everything about me. As a kid, I apparently was very bad at reading. My mum and dad would draw nuts by me just refusing to read. And I think I got into, I think the first thing definitely got me reading was The Hobbit. And then after that, one of the very first books I read properly, history-wise, was a history of the Mongolian Empire, which is just bizarre. It's about I don't know how old I was, but quite young, and reading, a big tome about the history of the Mongols and what have you. And I always been so inspired by that as a period, but still never ever had a Mongolian army in my collection. Of all the thousands and thousands of figures I've got, it just never ever worked for some reason. Partly because I don't think any of the rule systems I've ever played with would ever reflect how they operated, or how they could actually play it, work on the battlefield as they did in real life. So what about you, Steve? Anything historical kind of got you inspired like this?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, God, I must have been. We just moved back to England, so it would have been 83. I imagine around that time. No, I would have been a bit older. I'd have been 6 or 7. I used to read Victor.
Oh yeah,
another World War II. I used to read Commando as well, and because I think me dad. I don't know whether something in the army, people reading comic books in the army. My dad knew a lot of people that read comics in the army, so. I got handed down a bunch of Victors and Commandos, and I just used to love reading them. People at school must have thought I was a complete massive weirdo, but no, I enjoyed that. And again, a couple of years back, I was in Borders, and they were selling updated Commando compilations, and I bought every single one I could find because they're brilliant. They're just so. I mean, they're historical, but they're a bit over the top. I think there's a good mixture there of proper, escapism, but with a historical sort of.
The early ones were probably written by veterans, Second War veterans. But yeah, I know the comic stories, but those guys probably did actually serve, and the artists and stuff will have done their time, or some of them at least. Yeah,
I can imagine. But yeah, they were a big thing for me in the sort of mid 80s, reading things like that. And then I remember reading, one of my favorite books when I was growing up was Operation Skydrop. It's an Action Man book. Action Man and G.I. Joe stuck behind enemy lines with a depleted platoon of paras as they're surrounded on all sides by these Germans. So I still read that now, and I can read that in a single night. It's just such a really good book. But things like that, they've always inspired me. And I really wanted to do a sort of a bolt action scenario based on that book, where you just have waves of German soldiers attacking this ruined hotel with Action Man and G.I. Joe and all the battered paras. It is stuff like that. It is inspiring. It's impossible not to be
Action Man be. I wonder.
It's impossible not to be inspired by Action Man.
I used to have an Action Man. I used to have the SAS Action Man that was released after the Iranian embassy scene.
With the talking thing on the
and
it had the I had that as well.
Full NBC bodysuit and hood and everything,
and the gas mask. So some of the weirdest ones. I had an Action Man Luftwaffe pilot one. Came with a life jacket and a Luger.
That's right.
And then there was the Arctic Operations, and it was a bright red thing with white fur line.
White fur line,
yes.
Brilliant.
There was another one, the British infantry. It was the British engineer one I had with the mine sweeping equipment.
Oh yeah.
Because we had the Jeep and the German motorbike and sidecar. It was God. Again,
I didn't have an awful lot of the kit for those as a kid because it just didn't have all that kind of stuff. But one of my neighbours, I think his dad must have been very wealthy, and they bought everything. He even had the little scimitar armored car and a tank little thing and jeeps and stuff like that. So I'd take my couple of Action Man across to play with their stuff, and we used to have big wars in the garden and what have you. It was great fun.
One of my earliest memories was my mum knitting balaclavas for all my Action Men.
Brilliant.
Oh, full marks. Love
it. Action Men get cold as well.
James has got an idea. How about next CrackCon Space Weirdos with Action Man?
Actually, at the very, very first CrackCon, we partook of a few beers. Didn't we,
always
Dom?
dangerous.
And we had a conversation
it,
about wargaming with action men in someone's back garden and how much of a great idea it would be. It's amazing how these ideas, you know, always come about when you're 5 or 6 pints down. And at the time, they seem really feasible. And then when reality sets in, you think, what the hell was I thinking? Wargaming with action man. But
that's why I'm always very pleased that when I have partaken of some alcohol, that I generally forget what I've talked about, because it's generally a load of bollocks. So I've generally forgotten what it is. So unless there's photographic or video evidence, then it never happened.
Me drinking prosecco. Yeah, I never have.
I've got the pictures of that one, mate.
Shut up.
Dear. Dwarven Moustache says, I remember being at primary school and there was a bit of a craze for 2nd edition 40k and 5th edition fantasy. I miss the stores from those days. Wargames have always been the back of my mind ever since. Yeah. I don't think I'm the only one that every time I drive down a road or go through some countryside, I think, oh, that'd be a great position to set up a machine gun, or you know, how would you ambush a column of tanks coming down this road?
You're always looking for fields of fire and beacon zones.
Yeah. It's just weird.
That's just reminded me. I don't know about you, but when I was younger, sort of getting into the hobby, trips to model shops and Games Workshop were was like a day event. It's like a day out for us. And again, that was massive. I remember because we didn't, where I lived, we didn't. The closest at the time, the closest Games Workshop to was Liverpool. So we used to get the train on a Saturday to Liverpool, and we'd literally spend all day in the store, and get the 5 o'clock train back. But again, for me, it was so different. It was just such a different kind of shop, and it sold different things than I was used to. But it was looking back, I just enjoyed those days so much. And again, they were inspiration, seeing all the really well painted miniatures and getting together with fellow neckbeards on a Saturday afternoon. I was probably really insulting. I do apologize to anyone I may have insulted there. But again, they were good days out, good trips out, and it was just it was a full day, you know, out in Liverpool going to Games Workshop. So yeah.
But you mentioned that. Speaking of trips, you mentioned it, Don. But you said you went to where did you go? And you were inspired by.
Oh, it was somewhere in one of the Greek islands, and seeing Minoan Hillforth, I think it was, of some sort, and I just absolutely. It doesn't matter where I go. I mean, I went to Gallipoli year before last, and you know, that got me really hooked into World War One as well, and researching all that sort of stuff. So it doesn't matter where I go, wherever I go. It's just my poor wife just knows wherever I go. She says, "I bet you want to go to that site. It's a historical one, isn't it?" Yeah. Don't worry.
Because you know, one of the big inspirations I had for the Far East was going to Singapore, and I worked there for a while. And I had nothing else to do at the weekends, so I either went drinking or visiting battlefields, and that was literally it. And I knew nothing about that, you know, that campaign at all. And again, you just, you know, I mentioned this to you guys before. It's just, you know, it opened up how interesting it was. And my one regret is I never actually went up into Malaysia, and I should have followed the Japanese army advance down while I was there. You know, I keep threatening my wife that one day that I'm going to drag her down the main road, down the trunk road, down to Kuala Lumpur, and through all the positions. You know, like get up on Thompson Ridge.
It's really tough, isn't it? Especially when you're going with your other half. And bless her, Elaine is very, very forgiving me, all this sort of stuff. But you really want to go with your mates and go full nerd, don't you? Just like talking about whatever it is that's going on. How did they come down this road, and where was the ambush positions? Just like...
I've been doing that with a couple of other mates. We went out to Waterloo a few years ago. It's the first time I'd been to Waterloo, and then they went to Arnhem. I couldn't make it because I had something for work, but we're heading out to Normandy. To Normandy, to around Caen, towards the end of this year, and we're going to have a look at some of the British fighting and the breakout around there. You know, some of the lesser known stuff.
Nice.
the lesser trod areas, but we're taking some of our own little guidebooks and be following those around and things. And where one of the lads, his dad served there as well, so we're going to be following those. So I'm fairly sure that will probably inspire quite a few Normandy games after that. Once you've seen the ground and see what it looks like.
Yeah.
There's nothing like standing in an empty field, staring out, imagining what was happening 80 years ago. But my wife just does not understand it.
No. So Lane will do castles and historic buildings and that sort of thing, but standing in a muddy field looking out over and saying, yeah, you could really hide a regiment or two in that fold in the land. For some reason, doesn't.
Well, that's what we actually. That is, we were looking. We went to Quatre Bras when we went out to Waterloo. So I said I'd really like to go. I'm particularly interested in that. That particular battlefield and that battle anyway.
Yeah.
It's always been my preferred one of the 100 Days campaign. If you can have a preferred battle, it's my favorite battle. But we went to it, and I've played it so many times on the wargaming table. I've looked at maps of it so many times, but you stand there and you look from Gémicourt Farm down to where the French are, and there's those massive dips in the ground which you literally could hide French cavalry in.
Yeah.
There must have been on them within minutes of the charges starting and not even realizing. And you don't get that at all from either reading books or looking at those maps and things. So I think from an inspirational point of view, I think it's incredibly important that people do visit battlefields just to get that flavor of it and put it into your war game at least, or think about it.
Yeah, it's when the wargaming table is flat as a pancake, and for some reason there's a rule that says that you can't charge, or you don't manage to charge at something straight in front of you, and you get really pissed off, and then you go to somewhere like Quatre Bras or Waterloo, and you realise all those folds and lumps and things. Probably just didn't see it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it really gives you an idea of it, doesn't it? And like I said, the visiting First World War battlefields was the inspiration for my First World War wargaming, because you start to put things together a little bit in your head, as to how things fit and how it works, reading something to how it works on the ground kind of thing.
Yeah. Tony's with us. He said, if you're not reading the ground on your travels, is it really worthwhile? True. Absolutely. I'm a bit worried about Don. He says at Decticon, I'll take you straight to the boozer, to the vendor hall. You need to keep the sales numbers up. Yeah, remember there's an excess baggage amount. I don't think I'm going to be able to take too much back with me. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, interesting. I think blimey. Should we do a little bit? We'll do a little bit of news. I don't think there is a huge amount, and then we'll get back to some of the other questions and look at some of the other inspiration. It's great. I love the inspiration. Is just everyone has so many different versions of what gets them into things. Let me just find the little video. Hang on 1 second. We'll do a little bit of news. It's very First World War dirgy, that is, isn't it? Chaps, have you seen anything worthwhile calling out, chaps? No, not particularly.
No. I usually sometimes
you mentioned it before, the Blitzkrieg stuff from Battlefront.
Yes, and there's some new stuff, isn't there? I saw they'd put up some British. So they've got some new British 15 mils. So that looks like a Valentine and a Matilda, if I'm not mistaken. And then these fellas look fantastic. Armored cars.
Oh, nice.
I do like Battlefronts. They're so good.
Yeah.
Some friend carriers, but this one is the best of the bunch. A Tog. A Tog. Gotta love a Tog. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Really love their stuff. Yeah, the early war stuff are you going to be buying into that one, Alex, or the early war 15 mils, or you got more than you ever need already?
I've got more than I ever need. However, a little secret here. I do have a review of some of this stuff coming later this week. Because I dropped them a line and they provided me a box set. So you've heard it here first. I don't want to champing up my channel on your channel, but there is.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely fine. Make sure you subscribe to Storm of Steel, and you get the notification when he puts those ones up if you're interested in the 15 mils. I have to say, I love their stuff. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, I know we've said a couple of years back when we were doing stuff for O Group that their plastic vehicle kits are just some of the.
They're unbeatable, aren't they?
Yeah,
they are.
I cannot beat them.
Yeah, I mean these box sets. I mean, I think they're great. They're great prices. Even if you're not into Flames of War, they're worth it for the amount of stuff that you get in them. I think for sure. Like, and the new sculpts on those figures are really nice. The tanks look fantastic as well. But I'll tell you all about it in a video this week.
Yeah, that's I also saw Mr. Hicks was in the chat earlier on, so we're duty bound to show off some of his new work. So some orcs. So these are Orc Command set, which he and Mr. Hobday have been launching on their War Hosts website. So I believe they are on pre-order, on a special pre-order price at the moment, and expect to be shipped at the end of this month. So if you're into that and you really want to see, I mean, they're just fantastic figures, aren't they? Really, really good indeed. I know one of our co-hosts here is heavily into this and is drooling over it. I hadn't quite realized that these are basically it's going to be a fantasy version of Baron War. Wars.
Pretty
I
much what it
didn't
is.
quite realize that, so I might have to partake myself of that, because that might scratch my fantasy itch, so to speak, if you know what I mean. So yeah, go and check out War Hosts and jump on that as a pre-order. You get a little bit of a discount, I think, if you pre-order it. Steel Fist have some new later medieval figures on the production line. They're just always great. They're 28s and 15s are absolutely fantastic. Really, really good. I mean, that's some seriously good armor on those fellas there. Definitely good. Warlord have got some more for their Crimea range. They've been filling this out quite substantially. So there's some Russian infantry in summer dress uniforms. So you don't have to do them in the greatcoats if you don't want. But then you have to paint them properly. I mean, you can slap on grey greatcoats. I don't think I want to pay 39 quid for them because I have to paint the uniforms. But they are nice. They're quite nice. But I do like the Turks that they've released there. They're really good. They're actually, the facial expressions on those is actually very good indeed, some of them. And then they've got some cavalry as well, some Turkish cavalry. Don't know why they haven't done them as painted jobs, but anyway, there you go.
Probably didn't have time to do them before they released them, I guess. Probably
so, mate. Probably so. So they're up on their web pre-order, as you can see, on a slight discount if you buy the regiments. Also, the Perry brothers have done something slightly odd. So their travel battle thing took off. Yeah. YouTuber did a video about it, and suddenly there were so many orders. They had to produce more of them. So it's inspired them to produce a whole load more just to go with it. So there's 19 more packs of, I think they're 8mm. So, yeah, all coming down. So if you're interested in that and you want to expand your travel battle set, check out the new packs that have been launched for that. Yeah, very, very good indeed. Also, the League of Outfits, was it? I've forgotten who it is now.
Augsburg.
Augsburg, that's the fellas. Thank you very much. Some amazing new figures out.
They're lovely, aren't they?
Absolutely beautiful for the Spanish Success War, aren't they? Look at those. Lovely. So 3 different regiments which I can't identify. Martin will probably be able to tell us if he was here, but he's not. So there you go. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful figures. And no, that will not get me into the period. Everyone at the club's now trying to get me to do it, and I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. It's just not happening. And Reconquer had he's doing some fantastic sculpts again as well. So he's moved on from just sort of doing rank and file and individual characters. He's now got these sort of little vignettes happening. So this is they're definitely having a bit of a tussle, shall we say? This is next month's launches.
Looks like a Saturday night in Rotherham, though.
It certainly does.
He's not worth it, Darren.
Yeah. So that's what I've seen. I'm sure there are other bits and bobs, but it seems to be a little quieter this last week or so. But yeah, there you go. Let us know if I missed anything else that anyone saw that I missed, and put it up in the chat, and we'll try and pick it up. Right, let's get on for some more inspiration, shall we? What about inspiration that keeps you going on a particular? So, Steve, you sort of fluctuate around from your Second World War stuff and your bolt action armies. Is there anything that inspires you to, step back into it from time to time, or get on with anything else, or is it just sheer bloody mindedness on your part?
No, I mean, I've got a relatively short attention span, so I can't paint the same thing for sort of 2 to 3 weeks. It'd probably kill it for me. It would just kill my enthusiasm. So I'm constantly jumping between all different projects, bits and pieces, and then I'll have a week's break and just play video games. What keeps me going back is I'll see a YouTube video, I'll read something in a book. I'll, again with this one, the release of this new Japanese starter box, the Starter Army by Warlord Games, that coming out, no potential yellow card. Fury is the only thing Steve needs for World War II inspiration.
You realise we've been going for an hour and a half, and that's the first time someone's mentioned it. So
I know.
Yeah, you're doing well now. You're doing well.
That's a record. But again, it can be a film. It can be a documentary. It can be anything. I do tend, no matter what I'm painting or what I'm doing, I do tend to come full circle back to World War II. Eventually. I mean, since August last year, I've largely just painted old school 40k stuff.
Yeah.
But I've been working on bolt action in between that. Some modern-ish stuff for Rogue Warriors, some Space Weirdo stuff. I've been kit bashing some Stargrave miniatures. I actually picked up the Stargrave rule book. So there's always something. A War Machine as well the other week.
Oh yeah, don't forget War Machine. Yeah,
browbeaten into getting back into War Machine and prodded with the proverbial.
There wasn't much beating going on there. You really didn't need much persuading.
No, I don't. And that, again, because that game holds such good memories for me.
You've got a will of rubber.
I've got yes. Yeah. Willpower is not in a great. It's not a great commodity around these parts. It's just, I think some people are just inspired too much. I mean, they see something and they want to. You Dom, you're on holiday. You're just ordering miniatures while you're on holiday. That's dedication. It's also something else. It's also rather worrying.
It is
again. Yeah. But again, I just think it's something like that. That anything can, yeah.
Sorry.
Just anything like that can spark an interest. And next thing you know, you're on obscure websites looking for unit history or battles or which company makes these miniatures. I mean, case in point, War of the Triple Alliance. I'd never heard of that. And then after that, I was trying to find every video, every documentary I could find about it, and it's still horrific as the first time I learned about it. I mean, I'm never gonna game it because I don't do those size games, especially not a 28 mil. But but again, it was inspiration to research something and look up a conflict or a war or a period that I'd never ever heard of before.
It's a dangerous time, isn't it, at the moment? Because there's so much online videos and books, and you look at some of the stuff, because printing's got a lot cheaper in many ways, and producing books has become a lot cheaper than it was. You got books coming out like Hellion are producing virtually every week on something really, really obscure and different. That just piques your interest. It's actually bloody hard to not be inspired by what's going on, isn't it? Really, really is. How do you duck it, Alex, or do you just absorb yourself straight into it all?
Yeah, I mean, because I'm my wargaming is led by history.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, I want to know as much about the history as I can do. So I find that if I go through a lot of different periods or a lot of the things, I'm only picking up little tidbits of it, and I'm not diving into something, in any great depth. I'm kind of scratching the surface, because there's only so much Alex, out there that can deal with these things. So I stick to those periods, because those periods, that means I can read up quite a lot about those particular periods, or dive into those particular periods in quite a bit of depth, without just getting one book on it. I'd rather have 10 books, on the the Malayan campaign, for example, rather than just like reading an article in a magazine kind of thing. So I kind of temper it that way, I think, and I can be very focused when I'm doing stuff anyway. So that helps. Just from a personality.
You are very disciplined in your. It seems like that from outside, anyway. You seem very disciplined in your approach to the hobby. Not like me.
Well, I mean, neither way is the correct way, and neither way is the wrong way. At the end of the day, it's your way. And if you want to spend your hobby, having small collections of lots of things, or one collection of big things, neither of those things are wrong, and it's up to you. It's how you do it and how you enjoy it. And at the end of the day, this is just how I enjoy it. And like I say, I've always been interested in the Second World War anyway, so I've always had an interest in that war. You could spend a lifetime just studying the Second World War, even just studying Normandy as a campaign. And you'd still never find every single thing out about it. There'll always be something new. So to have that on a global scale, and then I do it with 3 wars. It's like you were saying, what's the inspiration for going back into something? Just the other day, I was going to take Through the Mud and the Blood down to the club. My car broke down, unfortunately for me, on the way down there, so I couldn't get there. It was like trying to cross the no man's land again, as getting machine gunned up, and the clutch fell out. But the reason I was doing that was because literally that day I'd been listening to a podcast called Not So Quiet on the Western Front, about the First World War. And if you're interested in the First World War, it's well worth listening to, because it's done by a couple of scholars of the First World War, so it's up to date, good information. And they were just talking about flamethrowers, and I just thought, I want to do a scenario based around flamethrowers. I've got flamethrowers. I very rarely get them on the table. Let's get some flamethrowers out. So I was that close. Apart from not getting down there, I was that close to doing that. So like I say, even within that historical period that I'm immersed in, there's still something that will jump out every so often. You go, I am, there's something that's interesting, do that, and so that's kind of how I do it. That's how I kind of stay disciplined, I guess, and how I'd managed to keep on that straight and level, if that's such a thing in this hobby. But like I say, the Second World War, like those battlefront things, if you did the invasion of France 1940 stuff, that's a completely new set of things that I would have to invest in, and tanks and stuff, and a new area to look at, something I don't know a huge amount. So again, that would be another way just to dive into it, but still within the world that I inhabit within wargaming. I've already got most of the tanks that I'd ever need for it. just need a British side to kind of balance it out, or a French side. I've got most of the French tanks as well, to be fair, but they're picked up as German ones for 1944.
I love it. It's fascinating. I always think that's. I mean, you're right. It seems like a lot of people. Well, again, it's a gross generalization from Dom coming in here, but the two camps. There seems to be two camps. Those like me that just sort of dance around all through loads and loads of different periods and wars and what have you, and that's what excites them. And those who, like yourself, Alex, who just really focus down. And there's no right or wrong, because some of these periods, there's so much depth you can go into. It doesn't really matter particularly.
No.
And there's a lot to be said for being focused. Not like,
and you don't even have to be interested in the history. You could just be interested in pushing toy soldiers around on a Friday.
Yeah.
That still has its place in the hobby as well. You know what I mean? You can go from one extreme to the other, and you can just be inspired by the pretty colours of some figures, and not knowing anything about the war, just wanting to play a war game with those pretty figures.
Yeah, absolutely. Will says, I was watching Martin's Dead Man's Hand video and ended up buying the 2-man box set. Yeah, that's a thing. It happens. I mean, it might not be Martin, it could be anybody. There's so many good videos out there. What about you, Steve? On the bit, I'm coming to you as a resident weirdo.
Cheers, Dan, resident weirdo.
But on the fantasy side and the sci-fi side, is there the same kind of that sort of inspiration that comes along? Because you get the inspiration going into Games Workshop shops and the magazines. Red Dwarf and White Dwarf, not Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf was a TV series, which is very good. White Dwarf and various other things, and I guess sci-fi. You get all the sort of various films and what have you. But is there some kind of inspiration that kind of drives people? Do you think?
Definitely films. I remember last year. Watched that film Soldier, with Kurt Russell.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And I was really. That inspired me to start thinking about, again, space weirdos, war bands and scenarios, things like that. It's just, again, films play a lot of inspiration for me. Science fiction. I don't tend to watch too many fantasy films. It's mostly science fiction, but they're dangerously inspiring. Like say, Soldier was inspiring, just the background and the sort of the atmosphere and the aesthetic of it was good. I don't know. It's things just
magazines and things like that. Do they?
I don't buy magazines. No. I used to. I've not bought White Dwarf for crikey 2001. The last time I bought a White Dwarf. But no, just it's all different things, really. Especially since playing Space Weirdos, because it's not like you're cramming something into something that doesn't work. With Space Weirdos, the rules are there. You could apply that to anything you can think of. I mean, I do it with science fiction. I do it with the Wild West. You could do it with 1930s gangsters. You could do it with the Sweeney. That I know Ken has his Sweeney game.
He does, yeah.
I mean, but I'm convinced that rule set can be applied to anything, and it's seeing films or reading books, especially films. Films for me is the biggest one. That will inspire an idea, and you think, I'll see what I can kit bash in the morning, or I'll write something down. I think that will be a good scenario, or a good background to a campaign or something. Yeah. I think again with science fiction, you've got the freedom to go a bit mad, like you're not constrained by sort of the boundaries of history, so you can do. I know Alex is into his weird World War. So.
Oh yeah, big star, all over it.
But yeah, it's just
There's no goblins in that trench. I'm not interested.
Can someone clip that one, please? Oh, we want that one.
That would be a good one. But no, I do. I just think film wise, yeah, inspiration can come from a lot of films, and you do start thinking, how can I play this out on the But one thing I want to do is I want to play Space Weirdos using John Wick, and it'd be one John Wick with max stats and a pencil against 5 or 6 others who haven't got pencils, and just seeing how much fun that would be. Again, it's not meant to be serious. It'd be quite a bit of fun actually, but yeah, things like that. Wick Weirdos. There we go.
Wick Weirdos. I love it. I love
Weird
it.
Wick.
Brilliant. Yeah. What about you, Alex? Do you find magazines? The old back in the day, it used to be pretty much that and the books from the library were pretty much the only inspiration you could get, was pouring through whatever magazine was coming out. Do you still find magazines useful? Or are you not into it? I know you did that video, didn't you, looking at different magazines and whatnot?
No, that was Ken Riley.
Oh, it was Ken, wasn't it? Sorry,
Yeah,
yes, it's Ken. Of course, it was.
Sorry. I was in it because I'd written an article in one of the magazines that he was doing. So inadvertently, I was in his video. But it wasn't me. Well, I was the only magazine that I do get is WSS magazine. And the most recent one is on First World War, and I've got an article in that as well. But I was just reading Nick Skinner's one about the Americans' attack at Saint Mihiel with the FT tanks in 1918. I was kind of just thinking to myself, oh, that's quite an interesting article, that an inspiring article that I could quite easily throw on the table. I've got everything I need for it pretty much. So I might try that out at some point. But Ken said, don't mention the video, he might have upset someone. I
mentioned it once and I think we were away with it. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in general, I read them, and I like to read the magazines because it's just nice. It's nice to have a physical object in your hand to sit and read, once a month, every couple of months, or whenever it is they come out. And but yeah, it's not often that I've taken many scenarios from magazines. I did Mark Backhouse's half pint size campaign for Singapore that he did in one of the WSS magazines a couple of years ago, the fight for Water Tower Hill. And I even got Paul at Sabotage to commission a water tower for me specifically for it. But I did film that. That was like a film thing. But I think that's probably the last scenario I've taken out of a magazine and played. But I always kind of look at them and think, oh, I should play that, or I should have a go at that and stuff. So they have some kind of, residual inspiration. I just don't always go all the way. But again, I try to be as disciplined as I can when it comes to wargaming, as I said before. And, if it doesn't fall into those 3 periods, I'm generally not that interested. Even if the article itself is interesting. I might read about, a Flemish war in the 16th century or something. But, I'll read it. But I'm not going to, suddenly put in a massive order for thousands of Perry figures, and then they're going to sit on my shelf for the next 10 years, because of the flash of inspiration has gone. Dom.
Who would ever do such a thing? I mean, I don't know what you mean. Don't know who you're talking about. It's interesting though, because back again, I don't sound like an old fart here, but or any more than I do normally. The inspiration for so many early wargaming for me was magazines.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All the key I mean, there was only probably 2 at the time when I was mainly doing all that. So I'd pick them all up and pour through them. And as you say, there wasn't necessarily always something that was particularly my bag, but it was always interesting and turning a scenario that maybe have done for it's a completely different period than you wanted to play, and adapting it to do something you wanted to play was great fun. I really enjoyed doing that kind of stuff, and it definitely that got inspiration to me for sure.
I think there must have been a miniature war games where it had the 100 Days campaign and the major battles from it in it one time. It must have been like a special, and I know we replayed those with my plastic figures back in the day, when I was a teenager. So there was certainly definitely a lot of inspiration as a kid, much more so than there would be these days. And like I say, I remember refighting Ligny and Wavre and Waterloo and all the major battles, just off the back of, and I think they even had, I'm sure some people probably still got it, but basically a cut out barn or farmhouse. It was paper. You basically cut it out and mounted it onto paper, onto cardboard, and that featured on most of my battlefields for many a year. It was stood in as La Haye Saint, it stood in as Hougoumont, it stood in as everything. The church at Wavre, wherever it could get fitted in, it was there. So there's certainly a lot of inspiration from those magazines in the back in the day, like for sure.
I can remember the first sort of Wargaming magazine I bought. I think it might have been War Games Illustrated. It would have been about 1993. I was on work experience, and I picked it up on the way home. And I still remember two of the main articles in that. One was the main focus was gaming the Jacobite Rebellion, and there was also an article based around Dad's Army. They for me they were the two that stood out. I think it was the Dad's Army thing on the front cover made me buy it. I always remember there was one about gaming the Jacobite Rebellion. And I mean, back then I'd never even heard of the Jacobite Rebellion. So it was really interesting just reading through it and thinking, this is so different to what I've seen played. Yeah, really just
opens your eyes,
inspiration. Oh God, absolutely,
it takes you in a different direction. Yeah, you just reminded me. I think it must have been War Games Illustrated, or no, it must have been a Miniature War Games, and it was about the Franco-Prussian War, which again I'd not heard of at the time, but I quickly converted my Prince August British Napoleonics, and they all suddenly became French and Prussians, and getting cut down by the military's machine guns and things because I'd read about it in the magazine. So the inspiration is there.
It is.
Just make do with what you can.
I love that sort of thing. Yeah. What's it? Martin. Here we go. Martin said his earliest inspiration was seeing a military modelling magazine with the cover picture of Rorke's Drift. Yeah. I think they're definitely not as well read as they once were. I don't think. Definitely not. I don't think.
No, it's a different world, isn't it now? Completely.
Yeah.
But I guess the internet and YouTube and Insta for the kids is sort of taken over in terms of those sort of inspirations and encouraging. Do you think though sometimes again, it's funny. We were talking earlier about the old Donald Featherston books and the Bruce Corey books and all those other books that were out there, and we're all inspired by the pictures of big battles going on and being fought over. And then you look back at them now, and you look at the basically books piled up as the hills, and the figures are very, very basic and everything else. But now you look at battlefields and you look at some of the games that people are playing, the work that's gone into creating some of the, you go around a show, you go around Partisan, you go to Salute or whatever, and you see these beautiful, beautiful tables of figures. Do you think it almost is too inspirational? You just no way you're ever the average war gamer is ever going to get to that kind of standard, or, does that not a problem, do you think?
To me, no. Again, I see them as separate things. Partisan, which I've been on at you for forever to go to. Dom, you absolutely love it. And I go around there to look at the eye candy.
Yeah,
knowing full well that my table is never going to look as good as half of the tables that are there. Well, more than half of them, pretty much all of them, because they are all sculpted, beautiful things. Yeah. But it is I don't go there and then come out in a fit of despair, thinking, I could never do that, because I'm quite happy with the stuff that I've got already. And I'm happy just to use the stuff that I've got, and it kind of, but it does also in a way inspire me as well to push it a little bit, because going to some of the Lardy Games days, or not force me, but kind of push me to make my terrain better and in a manageable way. And those are, they're things where they've kind of been put down for a day, and they are games that that look fantastic but are achievable with just a bit of thought, because it's a lot of scattered terrain, a lot of bits and pieces, and you can just up your games from those kind of things. So it doesn't have to be these amazing sculpted terrain boards that you see at massive shows. It can be at a games day, not just Two Falaris ones, other ones as well, where somebody's put a lot of effort into. I mean, like CrackCon and stuff, and if it just inspires somebody to go back and go, right, I'm going to get a load of scatter terrain and make something of it, and just try to make my table look a little bit better than it did last week. That works as well. So I don't, I never, like I say, I never really think too much of it. I just like to look at them in that when they're there at the show,
Yeah.
It's kind of a long way of saying that, really.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I hope you're right, because it's something I've seen a couple of times. Comments on Facebook pages and things like that, where someone said, these are so fantastic. Oh, what's happened to Steve?
So Steve disappeared on.
He's died.
We'll go back on now.
Yeah, there he's back again. Hello. You see, occasionally you see comments on Facebook and various other places where people are sort of, I can't. This has almost put me off. It's too nicely painted. There's no way I could do anything like that. And I always worry a bit that's genuinely the case, because I think we've all got to learn how to. You've got to do your apprenticeship almost painting, haven't you? And building tables and getting it right. You can't just expect to suddenly walk in and do a partisan standard game.
No, definitely not. I mean, you can't do what you don't know.
No,
you know what I mean. So you have to learn it. Even there's very, very few people that are able to pick up a figure and paint them fantastically immediately, and it takes a long time to learn how to do it. Just how to get to grips with painting the 3D figures. In the same way that it takes a long time to get to grips with painting a 2D painting. Understanding light and color and things like that. It's the same kind of thing. Let me just excuse me. My cat is desperate to get in for a tea.
No worries at all. Dignity says one of my earliest insights was a short film of Peter Gilder, Peninsula Napoleonic set. In the late 80s. Oh, look at that. There's the superstar. There's the superstar.
That's the money
forget the rest of us. There you go. In the late 80s, quite stunning. Yeah, I do think shows and things like, I know you don't go to many shows, Steve, but you find the same sort of thing, inspirational, things like videos of people's games and what have you, just gets you.
Yeah. And it's one thing I've worked on, because like I said, I'm not blessed with storage space here. So I've had to get creative with scenery. But over the past sort of 2 years, I've been buying or making a lot more scenery, because it's impossible not to, whether it's science fiction, whether it's Napoleonics, it's ancients, a good war games table is inspirational. It really is. And I think you can take so many ideas from it. I just think it's a really good. Again, it's just going back to things that inspire and a good setup table, absolutely. And like Alex said, when you see other people's, it does push you. It shouldn't uninspire you. It should push you and encourage you that it can be done. And it's not some kind of mystic art or alchemy. It's it can be done, but you see some and you just think, my word. I know I forget his name. Is it Joe Bilton? His absolutely
unbelievable.
That's what you call next level scenery.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely next level.
But the thing is, with Joe, he has a real good technique for this. And I did an interview with him on my channel about scenery. I don't know if you watched it, but his thing was, and I said to him, I've noticed when you look at his stuff, it's not detailed, but it feels like it is because of the way that he's done the colours and the palette across the entire. He's thought about all of it, and it fits together. So you're not looking at those individual things; you're looking at the whole.
The overall,
but his tables and his work is just absolutely unbelievable. But this is the guy that designs D&D dungeons for a living. So that's his job. So he has got the eye of an artist, and that helps massively. And with what you're saying there, Steve, there is always going to be somebody who is better at doing something than you. Not you individually, but I mean all of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Always. So you're not trying to compete with them, but just take inspiration from them. There's always somebody that's that next level. You just go, how have they done that? Right, I'm going to do that with my next thing. And I think
also knowing your level as well, isn't it? Sometimes you just got to recognise it's like sports people. We might want to aspire to be the greatest footballer, rugby player, whatever, but really you're not going to be able to.
There's only one you can
good time going down and playing. All right. I'm conscious. Bloody hell, we're almost at the end. It's gone by so quickly tonight. I'll leave one more comment from Flesh Clouds. He said, "My biggest hobby inspiration is the Plastic Crack podcast. I've been inspired to buy a new project every week, put it in storage the moment it arrives in the post. I'm up to 87 this month alone." Yeah, sorry.
3 periods, 1 scale. That's all you need.
That's all you need. There you go. You've got to be disciplined, not like the rest of us. So just got a bit of time to do a few pictures from some of the Facebook page or some of the pictures from Facebook. So a reminder, if you're not a member of, I haven't done the thanks for watching and all that kind of thing. Thank you for everybody watching on catch up and all that kind of thing. We're almost at the end, but thank you if you got this far. If you could hit the like and subscribe and do all that kind of good internet-y stuff, that would be fantastic. I usually leave that to Steve, so he's the expert.
I'm the professional shill.
You are. A reminder, if you're not a member of the Facebook page, why not? There's a link down below. You just have to answer the 3 questions and come and join, show us what you're working on. So let's have a quick look at some of the stuff. I know Ken was in the channel earlier on, so I'm contractually bound to show some of his pikemen off.
Now there's inspiration.
That is.
Yes.
That is. I mean, that's obviously just a cross section of the 155 that are in that pipe block.
That's 2%. That's 2% of the pipe block. Interesting fact. 2%.
I've never had a satisfying answer off him, but I've always wondered why he stopped at 96 for his pipe box and not just make him 100. So what's wrong?
He's probably just being contrary, isn't he, or something like that? We got Stephen. He said he was taking a break, so he decided to do something a bit different and worked on his naval brigade
nice.
figures. There you go, really nice indeed. And a Hannah Mag there. I can see what's the khaki figure? Is that Japanese?
I think that's looks like a Japanese officer or something.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. Morgan was working on some much more modern British forces.
That's interesting.
Hey, look at those fellas. I don't know what he's using them for, but they look amazing. We had Dom was here earlier. He was a bit late, but I'll still show off what he's been working on because he gets a pass because I'm going to see him in a few weeks' time over in US of A. So he's working on. So he's doing Brandywine in epic scale for Adepticon, putting on a battle there. So this is I think he's in the final frenzy of getting figures ready for the show in about a month's time. So this is some of his latest output. Not sure about that red, mate. I'm just saying. Just not sure. Anyway. Bjorn has been working on his Dark Age figures, obviously for
early medieval.
Yeah, early medieval. Sorry, yes, sorry. Oh God, we've got another bloody archaeologist here, haven't we?
Dark Age doesn't exist.
And Craig was working on his Scots, a whole range of them. He has some crossbowmen and what have you. Not sure what he's using them for, but look at those. That's War Games Atlantic plastics, aren't they? Look, absolutely amazing. Very nice indeed. Man after your own heart, Alex, DJ has been working on Epic Nassau forces.
Lovely. I like the green and yellow. That's really nice.
Yeah. Very, very good, isn't it? I like that. Yeah. It's one of my favourite regiments. I was always inspired by the Nassau at Waterloo. And
I've got them in 18mm, but I'd like to have them in Epic as well.
Fantastic. Gaza has been working on his Blood Bowl. I don't know what they are, but look at those.
Yeah, I don't approve, but they do look nice.
Yeah.
Are they Bretonians?
Oh, looking at the nameplates, I think they are. Yes, Bretonians. Yeah, they are. Wow. I don't know. Paul has been took a break to do some early Germans, early war Germans. That looks good as well. I like that very much indeed. Now I've no idea what this is, so I'll leave it for you, Steve, to tell me what this is. This is Lewis's something or other.
That's some form of evil chaos chap. I'm assuming it's chaos because it's got the old 8-pointed cross on his shoulder pad. Yeah, some kind of upper management chaos.
Okay, fair enough. We'll leave it there.
Management.
Yeah.
Upper management. Well, he must be upper management. He's standing on a little bit of a raised
tactical rock.
Yeah. Some very, very ugly-looking orcs from Tony here. Look at them. He's probably gone in all mud on the base with those fellas.
I was going to say that those bases are fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to say that the colours on those do actually fit them very well, don't they?
Yeah,
perfect, don't they? Yeah, really, really good. Yeah, really nice. And Tim talking about 15mm. Tim has been doing
on based properly because he's not a monster.
Based.
Exactly, properly based. We approve very much here. And finally, this is a period that's dear to my heart. So Neil has been working on his Normans in Sicily. Figures, a whole load of those. I recognise that. That's Tancred's standard, I believe. Very good indeed. So there you go. That's what that's what people have. A selection of what we see up on the Facebook page. So reminder, as I say, to join that and stick your work up and see what you're up to, and also any games. And also, I was asked this week about whether somebody could put details of a convention or an event that they were holding. Absolutely, stick them up there. By all means, it's always good to know when these things are on and people might be interested in getting along. So we are well over time. So thank you very much for everybody who joined us tonight. Alex, thank you so much for coming on as the super sub once again. Much appreciated. You bring a bit of sanity to this stream. The frivolity that Martin usually has, which is fantastic, and a bit of focus. And Steve, thank you forever, as always, being just you, really, the real Steve. Thank you so much.
I'm the fake Steve. I'm the AI.
You're the fake Steve. So next week, I think we're back on Martin's channel. So history.
Oh, we got homework.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, we got homework to do.
I forgot about that.
Sorry, teacher. My dog ate the homework. I don't know. So I can't remember what it's about, but we're going to work out. Oh, it's some sort of history that nobody would have thought about, isn't it, for doing gaming or something?
What was I saying? I can't come next week. My dog ate Marshall Neg.
And on that bombshell, we will see you all next week. Thanks for everyone who joined us. Thanks for everyone watching on the catch up, and those listening on Spotify as well. Still quite a lot of people listen there as well, which is amazing. So thanks very much, and thanks Alex once again for joining us.
Cheers, guys.
See you all next week.
Thanks for having me, and see you.
Hey, everybody.
Have a good week. Bye bye.